Purse Strings offers an available for hire network of vetted professionals who specialize in serving women. When you have a life event that has suddenly made money a priority, you can now move forward with a whole new confidence that you're getting advice and services from savvy professionals who are uniquely equipped to serve your needs. Go to pursestrings.co and use our directory of handpicked financial professionals when you're ready to plan for retirement, navigate divorce, buy your next home, fire up your new business, and more. Go to pursestrings.co or check the link in the show notes. Now you can be financially fearless.
Thank you, fearless listeners, and go you for hitting play. Please like and subscribe as it helps us grow. Also, share this with a friend as we have to keep talking about this shit. Now let's dive in.
Coming up on today's edition of Women in Money, our guests are Jazzy Rippy and Ameena Sheikh, the powerhouses behind Ladies-in-Law.
Ladies-in-Law is one of our favorite Purse Strings approved professionals.
Jazzy and Ameena are attorneys who focus on estate plans, legacy planning, and trust planning.
We fell in love with them the minute we met them because our missions are so aligned.
It's true. Ladies, we want all women to have a will and their POAs in place. It's so important, and we will learn why today.
Let's get started.
Gloria Steinem once said, "We will never solve the feminization of power until we solve the masculinity of wealth." Barbara Provost and Maggie Nielsen are the team at Purse Strings that will help you navigate the ins and outs of financial independence so that you can be financially fearless. This is Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about.
A recent stat reported that only 33% of U.S. adults have estate planning documents. Yet, not having these documents in place are so important to those we leave behind. We even hear of celebrities who don't have a will, like Sonny Bono, Michael Jackson, and even Abe Lincoln. Crazy. Many people think they're just not gonna die.
Let's hear it from these two expert ladies. Jazzy and Ameena, please take a minute to introduce yourselves.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Jazzy, and
I'm Ameena.
And we're Ladies-in-Law. We're based out of Detroit, Michigan, and our mission is to make legacy planning accessible. We feel that everyone, at a minimum, needs at least a will and powers of attorney, and financial power of attorney, and medical power of attorney. So we set it out to make legacy planning accessible through our pricing, our educational outreach, and our streamlined process. And we really enjoy working with women in particular and helping women protect all that they've worked so hard for.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you both on today, and let's dig in because we have a lot of questions for you.
Jazzy, Ameena, what's your take on why people don't move ahead on creating these documents for themselves?
Well, this is Ameena, and unfortunately, as we were saying, Jazzy is introducing, we're trying to make legacy planning and these documents accessible because a lot of people just don't think that they can get them. They think that, oh gosh, I don't have a estate, right? I don't have all these assets. And even if I have a little something, it's not enough that's going to be worth the price that you have to pay for an attorney. And it's going to be so difficult. Attorneys, it's just problems. And people just then, they're afraid to do it. They think, gosh, why would I put the effort in for what return am I going to get with this? So they have a lack of education and a lack of accessibility to getting these documents taken care of.
And I would say some people just don't want to think about their death. Some people feel like it's kind of going to jinx their own death, so they don't want to think about it. They don't want to plan for it or talk about it.
It's so interesting because, I mean, they're absolutely right. They will not get their investment back, but their family will. And that's, the priceless portion of it. But as we know, just talking about death does not cause death. So what does it take to get these documents in place?
Right. And honestly, actually, they do personally get the return back because there are certain documents that are extremely important while someone is alive.
That's
that
true.
If they don't get those documents done, then they're leaving some major health and financial decisions up to question marks, shrug of shoulders. So it does personally impact the individual creating them as well as their loved ones. But as far as getting this actually done, Jazzy, if you want to tell.
Yeah. So Our process is very simple. We offer a free consultation where someone can literally go to our website and sign up right away for a phone or a Zoom consultation, or if they're local in Detroit, sometimes people want to come into the office and we just have a simple conversation asking them about their family, their job, their assets, who they generally want to leave their legacy plan to, so that we get a better understanding of what type of documents that they actually need. So after we gather that information, we will suggest, hey, you need a living trust. You need a will, you need a medical power of attorney, you need a financial power of attorney. And we will send them a follow-up email with information on all of these documents, as well as how to sign up with us. Once clients sign up with us, we send them a couple forms to fill out that ask a lot of detailed questions about exactly where they want their property to go to, down to, do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be an organ donor? It's like very, very detailed. But it gives us everything that we need to prepare their documents. If they have any questions for us, or if we have questions, we follow up with them. Then we draft the documents and turn them over. So it's a pretty simple, streamlined process. It's a lot easier and takes a lot less time than people may think. We tell our clients, we really only need an hour of your time. Like, don't spend more than an hour really filling out these documents. And if you need changes, we can always come back and revisit this.
Right. So it's more, when people think of attorneys, they're always like, oh my gosh, some big problem, where this is more transactional. This is like going to the bank and opening a bank account and signing some forms and filling out some information and then letting the bank do the rest of the work. So that's part of that accessibility. Let us handhold you through this. It should not be a stressful time for you whatsoever.
I love that. I love that. And a question I just want to kind of go with this is, when's a good time to kind of get, all this paperwork in order? Is that when you start having kids and have a family? Or is it sooner than that?
Well, it's a really good question we get, because a lot of people will come to us and be like, okay, at what age do I need to do this? You have to be 18 years of age, okay, at minimum. But it really isn't about age. It is tied, like you're saying, to life events, okay? And life stages. Mm-hmm. You might be in your early 20s starting your family. You definitely need a will, okay? You may be receiving an inheritance, going through a divorce, retiring, getting married. There's just buying a business. There's so many.
Buying a home.
Yep, or selling these things. Those trigger having needed to get it done, needing to get it done, or making some changes if you've already done something.
If you have health issues,
yes,
and, want to get ahead of it. Some people call us and say, hey, I'm going on vacation. I'm going out of the country, and I want to make sure that I have my documents in place if something happens to me.
Yeah, one time my neighbor called me up and said, hey, my wife and I are going out of the country. We didn't have a will, so we downloaded one from the internet. And, we're leaving tomorrow, so we just did this quick thing. Will you come over and watch us sign it or notarize it or whatever they needed to do? But so the thought process was there, but I think ultimately you should really talk to attorneys and have a conversation based on your own unique situation.
Yeah, we agree with that. Because sometimes people come to us who have gone online to LegalZoom or some other software where they fill it out, but they don't feel comfortable or they don't feel like they're protected. And so they end up coming to us and having to redo their documents because that wasn't sufficient to protect them for their needs.
And a lot of times the documents that we do get that people have tried to do on their own, they're just so cookie cutter and they don't have any of the very important details. And really, you need to make these tailor-made. They need to be totally customized to you and your needs and your loved ones and your assets. There is no one, not even in your own family, that's going to want the same things, not even your significant other necessarily. So you just can't do that on your own. You really need somebody that this is what they specialize in.
I agree with that. And that's why we love having you on board. One of our goals is to really let all women know, make sure you have a will and your power of attorneys. I often feel women put themselves on the back burner. They don't think about themselves as needing these documents. But no matter if you're single, divorced, married, remarried, these are documents you need to have in place. In fact, shout out to me and to Maggie. Both of us have all of these documents in place, even though Maggie's single, never been married on her own. And I'm, on my second marriage, very different situations, but we are both signed, sealed, and delivered, as they say, and put in our fireproof lock boxes, and each other knows where they are at. So we are good to go. We want to be models of what we're looking other women to do.
That's excellent. And I know you say for Maggie, like, okay, you're single, but here's the thing. When you're single, you don't automatically have a spouse that the hospital, for example, is going to turn to in case of an emergency. And even if you're married, you may not choose your spouse, your significant other. So being a single woman, it's really important to have documentation in place that outlines your wishes so that they are actually followed and not left up for question.
I mean, I've heard horror stories of, now you're 18, so kids are either at school or something happens, and you just never know when things are going to happen. Do you guys, not to get into horror stories here, but do you guys have any horror stories that you want to share that can really explain how this can all be prevented?
Yes. Unfortunately, we tend to get handed more of the horror stories, and that's why people come to us. And we don't want people coming to us for that reason, but we definitely do. They'll have dealt with probate court, for example. And if anyone has had any inkling of what it's like to go through probate court, that's the court you go through when there aren't documents like a trust in place. All it is putting more money out to drag out getting an estate closed, paying out attorneys. And we've had clients, I think Jazzy has literally in the past, we would help clients that weren't supposed to, the intention wasn't for them to get anything from the estate, actually get quite a bit. So it kind of was like this backward concept. We've also had clients, we had a client, they were unmarried, been together for a decade, had a child, were planning to get married, didn't have documents in place. One of the partners became ill, and the client that was coming to us was like, I can't have any say. They're not letting me make decisions. They're not even letting me talk to the doctor. And I'm the one that knows everything he wants. And instead they're turning to his mom who lives out of state and he hasn't spoken to in years. And we're like, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. Actually, you have to be proactive in these things. Now you have to go to court and argue that you should be the one that's getting that guardianship and that authority. And that can take years. And it costs a lot of money, where you can get a full legacy plan from us with a trust for under $1,500. You're paying someone $5,000 just to retain them to take you to court. So this lady was in such a bind, but there was nothing we could do. And then
we've had clients die before they executed their document, signed and notarized their will. So because it wasn't signed and notarized, it wasn't valid. And, it left it open for family members to fight over in court.
Or I remember you had, they had a legacy plan, but it was done like 20 years before. Mm-hmm. So a lot happens in 20 years, and a lot did happen in those 20 years. I think there were changes completely in the family. So those documents were nothing what they wanted. Well, they waited to come when the individual that created the documents was on his dying bed. I mean, he was competent. Jazzy turned around those documents miraculously in a couple days, but he died before they could be signed. So now they end up in court and they've got to say, hey, no, those were outdated and this and that. And it's heartbreaking. The horror stories are really devastating because it truly impacts families.
I can't even imagine with COVID, all that could have been going on, because if there is no time like a pandemic to take a look at where your financial documents are and your estate plans and wills and all of those, power of attorneys, I'm sure you were flooded.
Yeah, we got a lot of probate calls coming in. That's back when I was still doing probate court. So yeah, we were very, very busy, and we wanted to avoid the problem. We said, how about I saw all of these issues happening just because a person didn't have a simple will. And I'm like, can we just get ahead of this and really put it out there that everybody needs at least a will so that their family isn't going through this in probate court fighting? And family members who haven't talked to each other in 5 years are getting substantial sums of money.
Yeah, COVID was quite an eye-opener for our general population. And it kind of decreased the sense of that's so morbid. It's like, yeah, it is. But what's worse is if it continues even after you pass away, and it's just terrible.
Yeah, it just seems like everything would be drawn out, going through court, going through probate, and this death would just be drawn out, months or years where you don't really have that grieving process. It's just going through finances and legal fees, and any assets are just going back to the courts, which is just a pain when all you want to do is grieve.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, not having these documents in place will just cause you heartache and so much time and so much money. It's just, so what happens now? Like, let's say you do get your will and you do get your power of attorneys, but let's say you get divorced or you get married or somebody dies. Like, what are the situations in which you need to really address or use these documents?
So during those type of life changes, we always suggest that people review and update their documents. If you have a new child, if you get divorced, if you receive an inheritance, all these, if you retire, significant life changes, you'll want to review and amend your documents. So like Ameena was saying, that client that we had sat on their documents for 20 years after all of these life changes had occurred, and then waited to the last minute when it was too late to try to change them. So we always suggest that clients review at least every year, review your documents. And especially if there's these type of significant life changes, you will want to update your documents accordingly.
Because those documents, how they're used, is they're a reflection of your intentions, and they become legally binding, which is great. You want that. You want no one to be able to say, no, that's not what it is. So once you update them during these life changes, you're updating your intentions and everything parallels. And that's really important. We even provide a maintenance program for a nominal yearly fee starting at only $50 a year to incentivize our clients to maintain and keep up to date their documents. We found that a lot of people are like, gosh, I just paid over $5,000 minimally just to get anything in place. And now I've got to pay hourly, an attorney's hourly rate to do it. And like Jazzy said, we're trying to avoid problems. So we needed to come up with a way to help ensure our clients were fully protected as their life progressed. And that's the way we do it to keep them going.
I love that because I could see so much money either going to your ex-spouse, or I can see somebody having, their first kid and getting all this document in place, and then three, another kid and another kid, and then only the first kid gets any inheritance, leading to more family problems. I mean, there are all those different things. So you do want to lead your intentions that your first child was not only your favorite, but you do want to leave stuff to everyone.
Yes.
So it sounds like you guys have taken so many barriers away from this process. You've made it affordable, you've made it efficient, and you've even made a maintenance process in place to keep them updated against any, life occurrences, which is just terrific. And that's why we're so glad that you're part of Purse Strings. Before we wind up this conversation today, any outstanding thoughts or tips that you want to make sure the audience knows or has in place?
I would just say, schedule a free consultation. It's 30 minutes of your time. It can be done absolutely virtual. You don't know what you don't know, right? And knowledge is power. And that's what we're really trying to do with our accessibility, is that forefront of educating the masses. And the decision is ultimately yours, but that's all you've got to do. Just learn a little bit, and you'd be amazed at how much you're like, okay, I can do this, and I need to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Anything else to add? I want to make sure both of you get your voice in here.
I would just say that, some people feel like, oh, I'm too young, or, I don't have enough assets. Like, there's no age, minimum other than being 18. Even if you're in your 20s, if you're single, you should at least have a will and the powers of attorney, as we discussed, that if something happens to you while you're alive, who's going to be able to step in and go to the bank, pay your taxes, make medical decisions for you. So I would say, you're never too young, or even on the alternative, never too old to do it, and to do it sooner than later.
Oh, and I would add with that is if you don't do this, this is how you create generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Great
not
point.
just financial planning, but it's protecting all that financial planning. It's protecting your intentions and how things should work. Without legacy planning, there is no way that you can ensure that all that financial planning you did is used in the way you would hope so that it can continue generational wealth. This is truly, that combination is the only way to effectuate generational wealth. So even like Jazzy's saying, you may feel like you don't have anything or you're too young, but if you don't get it in place now and then something happens, you lost your opportunity. But if you at least have something in place and you use the appropriate attorneys and you stay up to date with it, and it doesn't need to be burdensome, you are creating something very special for yourself and your loved ones.
That is so important. And I know when I was done and it was in its little case and signed, sealed, and delivered, I just felt a sense of relief. Like I could go on and live my life now and not be worried about what was going to happen next, you know?
Yeah, I felt like I got my little adulting certificate. So, for anyone out there who doesn't have, their financial documents like this in order or need them updated, let's make this a goal of 2023. Let's get it done. We never know, what's going to happen when. And so let's be prepared, be financially fearless, make this, generational wealth last for generations, and take some action this year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies, for all your wisdom and advice. Thank you for all the service that you do by providing this. It's just such an immediate need women need to address in 2023, and you're there waiting for them and to help them and take down any barriers and making sure that they are set for the rest of their lives. So with that, thank you, everyone, and let's be financially fearless.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.
Purse Strings offers an available for hire network of vetted professionals who specialize in serving women. When you have a life event that has suddenly made money a priority, you can now move forward with a whole new confidence that you're getting advice and services from savvy professionals who are uniquely equipped to serve your needs. Go to pursestrings.co and use our directory of handpicked financial professionals when you're ready to plan for retirement, navigate divorce, buy your next home, fire up your new business, and more. Go to pursestrings.co or check the link in the show notes. Now you can be financially fearless.